Aeroplane Angel is the true story of Harriet Quimby, as told by her childhood friend that grew up with her in the 1880s on the Michigan frontier. Her childhood friend happened to be my great-grandmother. As a kid, I used to go to my great-grandmother's house and open this huge photo album. It had tin-type photos in it and postcards from around the world. Turns out that that was correspondence between she and Harriet Quimby. It wasn't until literally years later that I realized the enormity of this relationship. Aeroplane Angel is the true story, a story that's never been told about Harriet Quimby. Harriet Quimby is a woman who's cloaked in mystery. In fact, she doesn't even have a birth certificate. Some people say that she was born in California, others say Coldwater, Michigan, but the historical record places her birth in Arcadia, Michigan. Harriet and my great-grandmother's childhood homes were only about 2 miles apart, near the shores of Lake Michigan. Basically, the story unfolds where, in fact, Harriet and Bertha, my great-grandmother, get a job one summer at the Sleeping Bear Hotel in Glen Haven, Michigan. They take off to the hotel to get a job, and oddly enough, a theater troupe is coming through sailing to Chicago that summer. Harriet leaves with the theater troupe and ends up in San Francisco all alone after she's been dumped by the actor that told her that he loved her. So here she is in California all alone, struggling to become a theatrical star on the San Francisco stage. It was during that time that she met D.W. Griffith, also a struggling actor who didn't have very much luck at that time. So they struggled to find jobs and never did come up with any success in California. Harriet, in 1903, leaves back for New York, gets a job at Leslie's Weekly. D.W. Griffith stays in San Francisco. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake devastated the entire city, so D.W. Griffith comes to New York, follows Harriet out there, hoping that her role as a drama critic at Leslie's Weekly would help his career. It did. He became famous starting silent films in New York. By 1910, Harriet's reputation as a journalist has soared. She's a respected writer and columnist at Leslie's Weekly in New York. One day, she receives a call from a man by the name of John Massant, who's an aviator, flying aeroplanes, as they were called in those days. And he asked Harriet to cover an air meet that he was flying in at the Belmont horse racing park out there. So people all across the country were flocking to see these magnificent flying machines. They'd never seen airplanes at this point. And so the place that they could see them would be at air meets. After that air meet, John Massant won the $10,000 purse, and Harriet convinces him to teach her how to fly. He teaches her, and she becomes the first female licensed pilot in the United States. She starts to fly some county fairs that next summer after John's instruction, and then decides that she has to do something that no woman has ever done. So she decides that she's going to fly across the English Channel of all places. So she takes a steamer to England in 1912, and while she's waiting for the weather to clear so she can fly across the channel, they hear the news that the Titanic has sunk. 1,800 people are missing. She flies across the channel, but needless to say, all of her accomplishment is eclipsed by the sinking of the Titanic. Undaunted, she returns to the United States. Everybody knows that she's Harriet Quimby that's flown across the English Channel, and she enters the Squantum Air Meet in Boston that same summer of 1912. And in front of 5,000 horrified spectators, she is thrown to her death out of a 70-horsepower monoplane. It was only 11 months from the time that Harriet Quimby received her pilot's license that she flew across the English Channel, then returned to the United States and is thrown to her death in front of 5,000 horrified spectators. But her legacy will never, ever be forgotten as the Airplane Angel, Harriet Quimby. Aeroplane Angel is a high-adventure action true story. The story of Harriet Quimby, surely an inspiration for young women everywhere. A story of courage and determination. It's Aeroplane Angel. You need to be part of this incredible story.